Hi everyone, welcome back to Monday Meds. I hope your week is off to a great start. Happy Monday to you all. And yes, I'm your health educator, Tanisha Lawrence, and this is your Monday Meds. So, yes, it's the last Monday of May. Can you believe it? This is the fifth Monday, the last one of May 2022. I know our viewers there in America, you have a holiday, Columbus holiday. I hope you're having a good one so far. And as we talk about keeping children safe this month. Yes, it's Child's Month, and we're wrapping up the month of May. And like I promised you last week, we'll be talking about how to keep children safe at church. How to keep children safe at church. And this one is very, very interesting. And bear with us as we talk about how to keep children safe at church, because this is very, very vital to our children and their well-being. So keep watching as we'll talk more on how to keep children safe at church. How to keep children safe at church? Quite interesting question. You know, we were privileged to go to church on Saturday, last Sabbath, and we had sweet communion. We haven't had communion service in about 2.5 years. At least since COVID, we haven't had communion service at church. And while there, it dawned on me that our children, well, I did think about it before, that our children definitely need protection and need to be kept safe at church. But really and truly, is church a place that we need to be considering keeping children safe? Yes, it is a place that we need to keep children safe, because anywhere children are, they need to be kept safe. And so while we were taking communion, or the Lord's Supper, I really thought about our children, as not many of our children were in church. And the reality is, we need to take extra care of keeping our children safe in church. Why? Because church seemed to become a place that people are more vulnerable, not just adults, but children. And so we have to take extra care in keeping our children safe at church. While growing up, I have noticed, even when, children would need to go to the restroom, and even as an adult, more so as an adult, I think about it, that when children need to go to the restroom, we definitely need an adult to go with them. I have seen many instances where parents allow their children, they send them to the restroom for them to go and use the restroom on their own. I'm talking about young children. I would say children, especially children under 10 years old, need to be um, accompanied by an adult to the restroom. It is so important. Yes, it is very important at church, as we know that even nowadays that children are at risk for sexual abuse, they're at risk for verbal and physical abuse, and yes, they are at risk for neglect. So we definitely have to make sure that we take the time to keep children safe at church. So yes, you need to, number one, if you have young children, I would say children under 10, 12 years old, they should be accompanied by an adult, especially their parents. And yes, of course, especially the same gender parent. So you have a daughter, mothers, take your children, take your daughter to the restroom. Fathers, you have a son, you take your son to the restroom. So many times I see girls, I see actually boys, more so boys, in the female restroom with their mother. Now, it really exposes a child to uncomfortable situations being a boy in a female restroom. Now, I know there's some controversy there in the US, in North America, with same gender restroom and all of that. Now, the world I grew up in, we know that there is boys' restroom and girls' restroom. And so that's something we definitely have to work with our children nowadays to learn that yes, boys are boys and girls are girls. And so, how do we keep children safe at church? We definitely have to be keen. Gone are the days when we should be carefree about our children at church. I am sad to say this, but yes, children are sometimes at risk, even in church. Sadly, we know that the devil is real and he's doing all sort of things. There's been shooting in churches. Yes, they've been shooting in churches here in Jamaica and also in the US and maybe in other parts of the world. So that's another thing we have to learn how to keep our children safe at church. And like I said last week, well, we talked about in the additional video that we did after the shooting at Robb Elementary School. In that video, if you have not seen it, check the link here down here in the description section. Like I said in that video, I'll reiterate that you have to teach your children that if they hear any loud sound or explosion that they need to take cover. Likewise at church, hopefully they'll be sitting right beside you in church, and that's another way of keeping our children safe. We have to ensure that they are sitting with us, especially if they're under 12 years old. Another way to keep our children safe, or leaders, church leaders, I implore you that you take added precautions in taking care of our children and keeping them safe. I know you have a lot on your plate, but definitely have a children's ministries department if you don't have one, and ensure that we keep our children safe. We have to ensure that we have programs to help to keep them safe. I know in the US, I don't know if it has been here yet in Jamaica, but I know in the US, they have a system where the doors of children's department, the rooms that children are in, it should be left ajar. If there's a window, it should be opened. That is a great way to keep children safe, to ensure that there is no secrecy when relating to children. This I must say to our pastors' wives. Pastors' wife or pastors' wives, I'll encourage you. I've heard of instances where the pastor's wife was contacted because her husband was said to have had touched a child, a teenager, a girl, and she's in disbelief. I know this is uncomfortable, or this may be uncomfortable for you as a pastor's wife, but I would encourage you that you take the time to listen and to seek to find out whether or not this is true. And if it is true, that you will discuss and talk with your husband. Of course, this is not supposed to be happening in God's church. But again, we are living in the real world and things do happen. So do not dismiss it to say it did not happen before you find out what happened. And so I encourage you, pastors, be very careful. As I implore many pastors, when you are doing visitations with your members, that you go with a second person. Preferably take an elder with you. If you're going to visit a female, take a female elder or deaconess with you, or a female member with you. It's better for you to cover yourself to ensure that you are blameless or As a church leader, you have to ensure that there's transparency in your work. And yes, pastors, you have to ensure that. So it's always great to have a second person with you when you do your visitations. Likewise, for you elders and deacons, and also regular members, if you are going to do a visitation, especially as it relates to church work, it is important for you to have a second person with you for that visitation. You have to cover your back. You gotta cover your back. You have to cover your back, and yes, you definitely have to make sure that there is transparency in what you do or in all that you do. Another way we can keep children safe is to ensure that if there's discipline to be done, that you contact the parents and let them relate to the children. Do not try to discipline or to beat a person or spank a person's child without their knowledge or consent. This day and age, there's so much different things that happen in our world that cause things to be what used to happen in olden days or used to work in olden days. Some of them seem not to work in this day and age. So we have to be wise. We have to allow wisdom to prevail. As the word of God says, we have to let wisdom prevail. So bear these in mind. You definitely need to ensure that children are safe in church. As we wrap up Monday Medz today, I am reminded of the verse in Matthew 18 verse 6, where Jesus said, "If you cause any one of these little children to stumble, it would be better for you to have a large millstone tie around your neck and be tossed into the sea." I hope and pray that you will be this person who will keep our children safe and do not do harm to any one of these little children. I pray you'll have a safe week, everyone, and God be with you. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Be sure to click the notification bell to get updates on all our new videos. Keep watching.